You're about to discover the 5 biggest mistakes small businesses make when trying to get new customers.
Hey, this is Jeff Dedrick with CustomerHacks.com, and these are some of the biggest mistakes that I see small business owners make when trying to get new customers. And many of these can be changed rather quickly, inexpensively, and have a huge impact on your sales. All right, the first one. The owner has no idea of their numbers. And what I mean by that is the numbers of the closing ratios, the number of the amount of people that come in and you get their information, the amount of people that call and you get their information, the website visitors, how many are opting into your lists, and then how many of those people are turning into customers, and then all the way through lifetime value. If you don't know your lifetime value, then you don't know how much you can spend to get new customers. Some people might think $50 is a lot to capture a customer. And in some cases, it really might be a lot. It might be too much. You might be losing money on that $50. However, in my case, for my offline business, my lifetime value is a little over $1,000 per person. So I will spend $50 all day long to get as many of those $50 new customers into my funnel, knowing that eventually the average will spend about $1,000. So in my case, $100 isn't too much. $150 isn't too much. Now, obviously, if you can spend 50 instead of 150, you're going to make that much more money. But I will also spend 150 or even $200 all day long to get those people in my door. All right, here's another mistake people make is they have no set scripts or procedures to use. So that's everything from when people call you on the phone, when they stop into your business. You don't have scripts for your salespeople. There's no scripts used for upselling. So if you have a front register people, they don't have a script in place to upsell. So you need to be using scripts and procedures. Don't assume that when you train someone that they're going to retain anything at all. They might retain it for a couple hours or a couple days, but eventually they're going to fall back in their old habits. So you're going to want to be able to give them scripts. And it's just a way for you to even test what's working and what not working. So what you can do is have your if you own a retail establishment and it's you service male clientele, you can have all your people test a certain script during a week. Then the next week you can test a different script. You might find that one change alone can double your sales on those upsells. So don't be afraid to test your scripts. I would say 95% of business owners don't really test their scripts. They don't know specifically how well their scripts are doing. They also, a big mistake is you don't ask for the purchase right away. Sometimes people want to buy and they're ready to buy, and it's just a matter of that employee asking for the sale, either in person or on the phone. And even a website can ask for a sale. Another big mistake is there's no follow-up systems. So after they've opted in your website, after they've given you their information over the phone, after they've come in and filled out a form or something in person, you don't have things set in stone. It's more just kind of hit or miss. Another big mistake is there's not enough reasons for the customer to buy. You need to always be giving your customers, your lists, reasons to buy. And it can be silly specials that are tied into seasons, holidays. It can be you've got too much of a shipment in. You've got, say, a dent sale on certain products. Think of as many different ways as you can to give you an excuse to reach out, contact your clientele, either just non-customers or already your existing customer base, and give them a reason to buy again. Okay, I'm going to walk you through when I purchased myself and my business partner, we purchased our 2 fitness clubs. Here's some of the mistakes that we saw happening. As I always say, if you have these same mistakes in your business, it's not a bad thing because you know you can make some dramatic changes quickly and those changes can have some huge effects in your sales. So walking you through those, um, when we bought these, they had no idea of their closing numbers on tours. So fitness clubs, people come in, they want to check out the tour, they would fill out a form, a tour sheet, and then you'd take them through the club. Well, they really, the previous owner had no idea, as either a group overall or for individual employees, how well the closing percent was. You can have employees that are doing a horrible job. In our case, someone doing a horrible job would close about 20% of the people. Then we had other rock star employees that could be closing 60%. So at that point, you can decide to either train your 20% people to get them up to that 60%, or you could give most of the tours to those employees that are at 60%. I would recommend you train your workers to get them up to that 60%. One, it will be perceived as not being fair if you gave everyone that comes in the door that needs a tour, giving them to your rockstar employees. So you really do owe it to your employees that maybe aren't doing as well. You owe it to them to train them. Now, after you've spent a lot of time and effort in training them, and if they continue to not be able to get their closing percent up, then you can easily bypass them. That's on them then for not bringing up their closing percent. But you need to know these numbers. If you don't know your problems, you can't fix those problems. All right, another mistake they made was there was no scripts being used on the tours. So tours were totally focused on the club and not on the individual needs. What I mean by that is the employees would walk them through the potential members would be walked through the club, and it was just basically stop at every part of the club and talk about it. Well, if a couple is 60 years old, why would I ever take them to the pools if they've already said that they are not interested in the pools? You don't really need to take them in there, explain all the different classes you have within the pools, to explain when open swim. You don't have to go into that. You can walk by and go, oh, in case you're wondering, here's our pool. Or also that same 60-year-old family, you don't have to, if they don't have any children, well, you don't need to be taking them into the playroom. So now there is an exception. They might be grandparents, and if your rules allow you grandparents to bring in kids, that's a totally different story. But you can ask them that. What you want to do is dig in on that initial tour sheet that they fill out, and then continue to ask questions during the tour to find out what their needs are. If they're big tennis players and big, say, racquetball players, then we would focus on those areas of the club. So you want to come up with scripts. So to get that information, to find out your potential customers' needs and wants, and then you work that into a script. Don't allow your employees or your management to do whatever they want. All right. Another big mistake they were making, the employees were in many cases not asking customers to buy. I would be at the front desk and I could hear the customers, my employees sitting with the potential customers at the tables, and they would get to the point of where they would normally ask them to close to buy, and my employee would actually say, okay, well, go ahead and look through all the materials, and if you're interested in the clubs, you can come back at any time and join. No, I heard that potential customer asking closing questions, and we don't have time in this video to get into those type of questions or to go more in depth on closing, but you can tell they were ready. So I just went out there, introduced myself as the owner, just to get the conversation rolling, asked them what they thought of the clubs. They said they loved it. I said, well, what's preventing you from signing up today? And then bam, they sold right there. But my employee almost sent them out the door. Now, at that point, we had just taken over the clubs, and it was on me and my manager for putting that employee in a situation where he wasn't properly trained yet. So it's just one of those things that, depending on when I took over the business, the first week, maybe it's not my fault. But if it's, month 3 after I purchased those clubs, then it's my fault for not teaching the employee those little tricks. All right, another mistake is there was no scripts for incoming phone calls. So people would call up. They'd usually, because they don't know what to ask, they'd say something like, "Hey, I was wondering what your prices were at the club." Well, they were just sitting there going, they would just say, "Okay, for a single membership, it's this price. For a family membership, it's this price. If you're a senior, it's this price." They would rattle off uh, tennis prices, all these things. What you need to do is ask some questions. So in this case, I would say, well, great, I can answer those questions. We do have a lot of different memberships, so I don't want to waste your time giving you um, prices on things you're not interested in. Well, let me ask you a few questions. Are you a tennis player? So you would start engaging them. Then you would also get their information. You want to get their physical address, and in our case, we would send them out a flyer. Now, this was back before the internet was really being used a lot. You could always ask for an email and you could send them a PDF of your prices, or you could do both. Well, how about this? It's easier to look at something when that you have it in your hand, so we could physically send them something. A lot of clubs, what you also want to do is book a tour. So again, we don't have time to get into all that stuff, but you want to get them in your place. So booking them first and getting their information. The reason you want to do both is because they might not show up for their appointment to tour your club or to whatever your business is, and then you still have their information. All right, another one is no follow-up systems, meaning that people would drop off, they'd come in and they would fill out those tour sheets and they had no follow-up system, meaning there was no callbacks, there was no type of advertising to get them back in. Yeah, it was just a mess. All right, another thing was not enough reasons, again, for the customer to buy. I don't even remember if they had a special or anything. They wouldn't do anything special. There was no reason for a customer to take action, a potential customer that came in for tour to take action to buy right there on the spot. You want to give them a reason to buy right then on the spot. You don't want to be cheesy and you don't want to be scammy, but you want to give them a reason to buy on the spot, or with your follow-ups, you want to give them reasons, sales, different promotions, fun little things. Join this month and get this special bonus. You want to do it yourself. All right, here's what I want you to do. We're almost done here. I want you to evaluate your own business. What are your current numbers? If you don't know those, get them. I want you to get closing percents on your everything from traffic to opt-in percents to closing percents on everything you have. Websites, if you have a business where people call you for walk-ins, whatever it may be, you need to know those. You need to really figure out all your numbers and then eventually figure out your lifetime value. What's each customer worth for you? Also, do you have a follow-up systems in place? That could include autoresponders. That's the automated emails that get sent out. It could be live emails. Do you just send broadcasts out to people or one-on-one emails? If you're an insurance salesman, are you following up with one-on-one emails? Calls. Are you following up with calls? Do you have a direct mail? You can do a direct mail sequence where you know that everyone that comes in on right away, they're going to get a direct mail piece that thanks them for stopping in. 3 days later, or a week later, or 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, they're getting the next piece. Then a week, 2, 3 weeks after that, they're getting the third piece. You can automate or almost automate all that stuff. It'd be very simple even just to have things in a spreadsheet and okay, these 4 people fall within this time frame. They're going to get direct mail piece number 2 today. All right, another thing I want you to look at, do you have scripts for walk-ins, call-ins, consultations? Whenever you're reaching out to a potential client or to past clients, do you have scripts? Don't just tell a worker, well, give these people a call on day 3 and see how it's going. You want to ask specific questions and have everything set out so any employee can read that script, and you want to do it in such a way where they're not sounding like they're reading a script, but they're going off a script, and it's all orchestrated to get to your end result, whatever they may be in your business. All right. Are you and your workers asking for the sale? Start listening in on all interactions with your employees, and also even really tape yourself, and you'll be amazed at the mistakes that you're even making and how you can improve. but specifically, are they asking for the sale? And ask yourself this hard question. Is your competition better at this than you are? Now, it might be across the board they're better. It might be in certain areas they're better, but whatever it may be, then it's time for you to make that decision that you're going to work hard yourself. You're going to train your employees. Your whole team's going to work harder to be at least as good as the competition, hopefully better. Look at what your competition is beating you at, and then at least you know where you can improve. Then what you can do is go beyond your competition, get better than your competition. And that's when you really start becoming the number one in your niche, in your marketplace, when you can beat your competition across the board on some of the things we talked about today. All right, if you want to discover how to get more customers and more sales, head on over to customerhacks.com. This is Jeff Dedrick, and I want to thank you for watching.